Welcome back to Out and About Today. I'm Brent Meredith. After what felt like a never-ending hot summer, fall has finally found its way to Music City. And one of the benefits of the changing seasons, at least for me, is what fashion has in store for us. It's time to pack away the shorts and tanks and dig out our jackets and boots. And here with us to figure out the best of what's on the rack is fashion editor, stylist, and show producer, Milton White. Welcome, Milton.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's quite an intro there. You got a lot of titles to keep up to live to.
I do have a lot of titles.
So now we're all anxious to see the models that you've brought tonight.
Sure.
I got a sneak peek back in the dressing room, and they are just looking fantastic. But that's a little bit later, okay?
Okay.
So before we jump into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about you, believe it or not. What string of events or series of events, what brought a young Milton White to the fashion world?
So many things. Having a glamorous mother who used to stay up and drink and smoke with her friends.
Okay.
And observe that, whatever that was, watching her get ready for her bridge club meetings was maybe the start of it.
Yeah.
My mother was very creative and also did some sewing, and I used to take all of her pattern books and I used to make her go to the art supply store and get tracing paper.
Oh, really?
And I would trace over almost all of the illustrations, but I would redesign all the outfits.
How were these the old McCall's patterns?
Yes, they were all,
yes.
But the buttons would be moved. It'd be, of course, they were always sexy. The skirts were shorter, the pants were tighter, the things were lower. My mother was somewhat horrified, not really. But I kind of did that, and I thought I wanted to be a designer. But I realized I was really not a great artist. And I was not interested in doing art classes and developing that part of it. So I kind of put that aside. And then in high school, when I went through this I'm not going to college phase, and I started working very young. I won't tell you how young, because then you'll want to ask me how long I've been working and try to do the math.
Right.
But I started in retail and was very quickly given responsibilities that included, like, there was a model that would come in on the weekends to do informal modeling, and I would coordinate those outfits. And then it was time to do the visual merchandising for the store, and that was responsibility was given to me.
Now, do you have an earliest fashion memory, maybe a fashion favorite? And I ask because I vividly remember this one particular like white polyester shirt I had with these three blue sharks that I used to love wearing all the time, and I loved it, and it just sticks in my head, and I thought surely he's got something he remembers wearing as a kid that he loved.
I grew up remembering, I remember growing up hearing that my mother had this massive wardrobe when she was expecting. There were all kinds of kimonos and she would tell these stories to friends of mine, and so I would hear it all the time. So that's not a memory, but that has been ingrained in my head, that I've always had this wonderful, fabulous wardrobe that was made only for me, and that's kind of stuck with me. I remember as a little boy having a horrible red, white, and blue plaid jacket for Easter with little navy shorts.
Oh, of course.
My younger brother had the same thing, and I hated the fact that we were matching. If there were one more, we could have been the male version of the Supremes, maybe.
Right.
But in the 4th grade, I entered a talent show, and of course did my own outfit, and I had these low slung white pants with a full leg and a white shirt, but there wasn't enough, and I couldn't find really what I wanted, so I took one of my father's best ties and I snapped off, or I cut off the ends of them and wore it around my neck, and I took one of my mother's really expensive negligees, and I took the one of the belts, and I kind of remade it into a belt of my own, so it kind of looped through my belt loops, but it kind of hung down, and so when I moved, there was these kind of things going on.
Tendrils, of course, yeah.
So, and of course, I thought I could sing, but I gave a performance, and but that's probably my earliest styling memory or fashion memory.
Well, let's fast forward a little bit, because I want to talk about your career here in Nashville and how you landed here. And I think we've actually got some photos of some different things you put together. There's a little profile of you, actually.
Yeah, Country Weekly.
Yeah, but just talk a little bit about how you got here in Nashville. And these pictures are going to scroll through, and we'll take a look at those while you're talking.
Well, I'm originally from Nashville.
Yeah.
So I was here and left at 12, grew up in the D.C. area, started my fashion career there, went to Baltimore, started a modeling agency after I had started a fashion show production company. But I came back here to help take care of my grandparents as I got older, opened up a branch of the agency here, and that didn't go as I planned because the market was so different, and I was such a snob. I only wanted to do the fashion things. I thought that Nordstrom was going to come in a lot sooner than it did. So I kind of went back to styling full time, and I really, my first love was fashion show production. That's really what I wanted to do until the day that I left this planet. And I still do that, but there just isn't the same kind of market for that here. So I've never stopped styling, but I've started to concentrate on that more. And then I'd get these referrals from friends, people that needed like somebody to come in and edit their closet or put looks together and stuff for them. So I started taking on private clients as well. So it's kind of the fashion office is a business that offers fashion-based services, and we do almost everything but design it.
Well, and since you mentioned all of these different things that you do, and the production value and whatnot, and we talked about your different roles, what does sort of each of those entail? Because I know, like the editor portion, we worked a little bit together when I worked for the National Scene and In Focus. So explain to someone who's watching, like, what does a fashion editor and a stylist actually do?
Okay.
You know?
So as a fashion editor, a client will come to me, and usually they'll give me, or hopefully they'll give me carte blanche to kind of do whatever I want. So, or they'll come and they'll say, we want to do something in this specific issue. It may mean that I have to conceptualize what that is.
Sure.
But I will, book the location, book the photographer, book the models, put a mood board together. The stylist is probably the one that, and I do that when I self-style all the editorials that I do, but the stylist is one that actually goes out and does pulling all the clothes and will be on set to put the looks together. A fashion editor will typically oversee that.
Okay.
Fashion editor may also, I don't consider myself an art director, but they will probably do a little bit of that as well. But for a fashion editor, you're generally doing that on an editorial level for local or regional or national publication or even international publications.
Yeah.
But being a stylist could mean that you're booked to do wardrobe for, like, Taylor Swift launched a collection in China.
Okay.
So I was booked to style the photography portion of that collection.
Oh, okay.
So, the collection was already done. The client had already purchased boots and accessories that she thought would work with the collection. It was up to me to then put those pieces
Put them together. And that's kind of cool. So you get to take what's already there and then kind of put the pieces together. Put your own sort of take on it.
Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's really just you're just unpacking a box and steaming everything, and it's already in order. When you do a designer collection like a fashion show, it's all in order. They've pretty much decided what it's going to look like.
Okay.
So you're kind of doing some of the prep for that. And depending on the relationship with the client, you might speak up and say, well, this doesn't really look great with that, or this would do better for this. And, sometimes they're set in their ways and that's what they want to do. And you let them do it, you take the money and run.
Yeah.
Other times they will concede because they realize that whatever it is you're suggesting is better than what they thought it was.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. We've got about a minute left, and I am curious, though, do you have a favorite season or a favorite time of year to dress for?
Fall.
I'm
Winter.
hoping you would say that, because that's always mine, too.
Layers, and there's so much to that. The colors, but I can wear black year round.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm glad you said fall and winter, because after the break, we've got some models coming in with some fall and winter wear that you've put together. Do you want to give a little tease for that?
Sure. We've got 5 models coming in this afternoon. We've got Karen, Adam, and Sharika from Tribe. And then we've got Caroline and Vivian from Dan Talent. And they are wearing outfits from Posh, Jamie, The Private Label, Levy's, and Soka.
Okay, cool. I'm very excited. So, and actually Pam, I think, is going to join us after this too. She wanted to get on this. She wanted to see the clothes.
Fantastic.
So stick around. We'll be right back after this, okay? And we'll be right back with our runway show after the break. Stay with us.